Come on, y'all.
Hey, hands to go.
Welcome to the Cheer Chronicles Podcast with Rosie.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cheer Chronicles Podcast. I am your host, Rosie, and I know what y'all are thinking. Finally, a brand new episode. I know we've been gone for about 2 weeks, maybe a little longer, but life has occurred. As most of you who are listening know, I recently got a new job, and with that job came some training, and I even had to go out of state to Austin, Texas, and then, the whole eclipse, because we're going to blame it on that as well. By the way, Austin, Texas, not my favorite. I'm gonna digress here for a second. So allegedly, Austin is supposed to be like an up-and-coming, new... Well, it's not a new city, but an up-and-coming city where, lots of people are moving to, and that is not the case. At least I didn't find it to be. And every time I got in an Uber, I said, "Where's the up-and-coming part?" And they just laughed. So just so you know, I don't think that's what's happening in Austin. But according to a lot of social media and like different travel shows, that's the place to move to. But I would not like to move to Austin at all. So there's my opinion on that. So yeah, I started a new job. I've been at this new job for 3 weeks. So I'm still adjusting, of course, because I was at my other job for 14 years, which is a pretty long time. And I know some of you listening are probably rolling your eyes as I have been speaking about this for the last 3 weeks. Apart from starting my new job, of course, we had All-Star Worlds, not to be confused with cheerleading worlds because people get upset with that. So my kiddos went to All-Star Worlds with their teams, their All-Star cheer teams, and the gym did amazing. My kids did very, very awesome, and super proud of the gym and all the kids and the parents. Shout out to all the cheer dads who we are planning on having them on the podcast soon. We're just working out dates and all the logistics to get them on the podcast for sure. And so all of that has occurred. And with that came a little pause to the podcast, but we are back. We have some exciting things, even though we haven't had an episode. I am working, like I said, on the episode for the dads. I have an episode coming up about choreography, and I'm hoping to have one of our cheer coaches from the All-Star Gym join me for that. So if you are listening, you know who you are, and you said you would be on the podcast. Okay? So, and we are also working on a super special guest who judges cheer competitions coming on the podcast. So I'm excited for that. I just got a notification earlier today that she was like, I would love to, of course. So yeah, life has been lifing. And so here we are. And with everything that I just said and attending All-Star Worlds, the cheer season is over for most of us. Just kidding. Who are we kidding? It's never really over. Because now we're getting ready for evaluations. And that is what this week's episode is about. Cheer tryouts and cheer evaluations from my perspective, point of view as a cheer mom, cheer coach. So let's get into it. All right. So let's talk cheer tryouts for school, right? So I hold tryouts for my teams. Again, I coach a middle school sideline team, middle school competitive team. That middle school competitive team is usually in the impact division. It's very all-starry, to be honest. And then my elementary competitive team, which is also very much an all-star routine. And so for my athletes, and even with the elementary ones, one of the things that I always tell them, and I remind the parents, is don't show up to practice without being prepared. When you go to those parent meetings and the athlete meetings on, what we're going to be expecting as coaches, show up and be prepared. Even if you've been on the team before, many times, things happen and other athletes show up and you think you're in because you've been on this team for 3 years, and that's not always the case. So story time real quick. Going into my junior year of high school, tried out for the varsity team at my high school, and first day of tryouts I was chewing gum. And my coach at the time said, "You're chewing gum," during my tryouts, and she was very upset with me, and no lie, made me an alternate that year. So there you go. Yeah, you have to be super careful. I came back from that, luckily, but you have to be super careful because, we are building a program, we're building a team, we're building athletes, and we expect nothing but respect and the best, right? So want to make sure that you are super prepared. And as a parent, even when I'm coaching my own kids, obviously the coach's kid has to be, I wouldn't say perfect, but near perfection, right? Just because you definitely lead by example as a coach's kid. And so again, being prepared, making sure that you look presentable at these tryouts. And even if most of the time school tryouts are 2 or 3 days, right? First 2 days, you are basically learning the material, right? Your jump counts, your any tumbling or even some stunting that you might be doing. And then there's always a dance or a band chant or a fight song that you might be learning, cheers, chants, all the things. And so you want to make sure that you are prepared and ready to go. So you learn that the first 2 days, and then the third day is your actual tryout. Usually they bring in athletes 2 to 3 at a time, sometimes 4, depending on how many judges you have. Those judges are usually either other coaches, or I know we've brought in judges from FGCU who are cheering there. And so, you want to make sure you know the material. Another thing I'm going to tell athletes is that we are watching. Even when you go have that water break, we want to see the interaction between athletes. We want to make sure, who is super comfortable and pulling their phone out to look at their phone in the middle of tryouts or in the middle of practice, right? So that is a no. Absolutely not. Immediately no. And so those are things that we look at all the time. So athletes, parents, make sure that they are prepared and presentable. Throwing skills that you don't have. Don't do that, please and thank you. So a lot of athletes want to obviously make a team, even at school, that is a certain level, right? Like right now, I've had some athletes come up to me and say, "Coach, I don't want to be on a level 1 team, right? Because I'm going into middle school, whatever the case may be." And I'm like, "Where are your level 2 skills, ma'am, sir? You need level 2 skills to be on a level 2 team." And so one thing I'm going to tell athletes and parents is if you don't have the skill, whether it's a back walkover or a back handspring or a tuck, don't throw it at tryouts if you don't have it 100%. Here's why. Because then that coach is going to expect you to do that, during the routine and during games. And you then have made the team and got the points for the tumbling, and now you don't want to throw it. So throw only, and let your athletes know, throw only what you are super duper comfortable with. If I am super comfortable with a forward roll, then that is what I'm throwing at my tryout, if it is allowed. If I am comfortable with a tuck, then that is what I'm throwing at my tryout. Just remember that whatever they throw, they're going to be expected to do the rest of the season. So it's super important that we're not throwing skills that we don't really have, okay? And parents, also make sure that you are realistic. You don't want a situation where you're pushing your athlete. Well, tryouts are coming, next week, and, now we're going to have him or her do 5 days of tumbling so that we could get a tumbling skill that takes an athlete who constantly does cheer all year long several months to get. because it's a lot of pressure on the athlete, a lot of pressure on that coach that's expected to deliver the skill within a week. It's kind of unrealistic. So again, just show up with the skills that you have and don't put yourself in any danger trying to throw skills that you don't have during a tryout, okay? Another thing we want to be mindful of is don't diminish the tryouts because they're just school cheer. Y'all know how I feel about school cheer and how important I think it is. And so I've had athletes come in who do all-star cheer, or sometimes they haven't cheered before, and they kind of act like, oh, this is whatever. It's just school cheer. It's just sideline. Then this is probably not the kind of cheer for you. We expect you to be 110% every time. You guys know that. And so don't diminish it. You know, if we give you a correction, take the correction. It might be different than what you are used to at an all-star gym, the corrections that you might get from your school cheer coach. But don't diminish it. Go out there and give it 110%. Always. Coaches really do have a difficult time making decisions when it comes to who's going to make the team, who's going to make the mat. I know that some schools have alternates, which is awesome. The school that I coach at, we don't have a big enough program, I feel, to have alternates, and it's pretty expensive to ask someone to, hey, pay all these fees and all the cheer gear and your child's an alternate. But I have to say, take it seriously, because just because you were on the team last year doesn't mean that you're on the team again this year. Okay? And also, coaches are constantly watching, like, all season long. So if you are constantly not showing up, not keeping up with the commitment, y'all know my first episode was all about commitment, then we're going to think about, do we really want this person back on the team? Talent is talent, and that's great. But if you have the talent and you don't show up with your talent, then it's useless, right? We need you to show up and show out all the time. And so super important that, again, you're prepared, take it seriously, you throw the skills that you have, and that you show up and show out. So that's most important. Be presentable, be respectful, be coachable. That's all you can ask for, truly, when you're putting together your cheer teams at school. For sideline, you got to spirit after every chant, every cheer, every band dance, every jump. And I feel sometimes even the little ones feel a little silly. Just, we're out here spiriting, like, go red and blue, or whatever the case may be. But it's a huge part of sideline cheer, huge part. And if, like us, if we're going to take you to a game day competition, we want to make sure that it doesn't matter if you feel silly, it's part of the sport. So again, give it your all. Parents, make sure that you have that talk with your athlete. Hey, don't get comfortable in there. Go in there and give it your all. Always, always, always. So that is basically school cheer, right? Usually once the team is done and the coaches have gone over scores, then there's usually a list that comes out, and if you've made it or not. And like I mentioned before, and I know I digressed a bit, putting together those teams is not easy. It's not easy. And again, it's not always about talent. Sometimes it's about, again, being coachable, having the right attitude, and knowing that, hey, this athlete might not have certain skills, but we see the potential there, and we could move forward with that. And I have to say, shout out to the coaches, because it really does take a lot of time, a lot of thinking, a lot of deliberating, making sure that we are putting the best team for the season. It's never taken lightly. Having those difficult conversations with parents of, hey, your child didn't make the team this year, and this is why, and this is what they could work on. It's never easy. I know that. Most of us parents, we understand that, especially when they're younger and they don't understand. And so I just want to say that I have never had one of those conversations and taken it lightly. I take it to heart. It keeps me up at night, to be honest, because I know how crushing it could be when you don't make a team. Not making that team that year in high school. And again, I started off as an alternate and then I moved forward from there. But it was crushing to me. I felt like, my life was over because I didn't make this team, to be 100% honest. And it really shaped me into who I am today. And it took me a long time to realize that the reason that I do everything 110% was because of the lessons I learned during that tryout. And so, again, be super, super, super prepared. Don't take it for granted. Don't take it for granted. And so that's pretty much school cheer, right? And it's a long season for school cheer. So here we go. Tryouts are, if they haven't happened for you, they are about to, I'm sure, for your athlete. So evaluations for All-Star Cheer is a little different, right? So they don't really call it a tryout. The gyms call it evaluations. You come in and you fill out a form, and then you go in and they ask you to do your jumps, do your tumbling, whatever standing tumbling you have, and whatever running tumbling you have. Then they call athletes back and they have you do a dance and they have you do some stunting. So they call you back in different sections, and depending on the sections they call you is the level that they're thinking of putting your child on. So for example, my daughter got called back last year for level 3. So she stunted with the junior level 3 team and the senior level 3 team and ended up on the junior level 3 team. So that's what's expected for evaluations for All-Star Cheer. It's a little more, obviously it's longer, right? It's not just a 3-day thing. And, it's a lot of kids trying out and a lot of skills. And so I'm sure those coaches take their time to make those team placements. One thing I'm going to say, and I've never coached at an all-star gym, but as a parent, I've seen it before, is athletes who have obviously been part of the gym. And, with cheer gyms, just like with any sport that, if you're part of a volleyball club or whatnot, you become family. And you become comfortable. And, my child is fine because, she's been here since she was in mini 1. And, there's no reason that she shouldn't move up or whatnot. But then they go in there and they're kind of like halfway doing it. Again, it's that commitment, kind of like I've been here this long. And obviously with All-Star Cheer, they don't really cut athletes. Everybody makes it, but you might not make it into the team you want. And I think they also must go around not only looking at skills, but who is giving it their all? Who is, making sure that they are listening and they're being coachable? And if we bring you back to a level 2 and you want to be on a level 3, are you going to act okay? Are you going to be okay with that and give it your all and get things done? And I think attitude has to do a lot with it, truly. I know that they look for skills, obviously, but I could only imagine that if you go in there and you're kind of throwing your pass, but you're not giving it your all, and it's like a bother to you, and, oh, what do you want me to do now? I feel like that plays into it as well. So I always tell my child, like, hey, I know you've been part of this all-star gym for a while, but you need to go in there and let them know, like, hey, I'm ready, I'm here to work, and let's get this done, and we pray for the level that you want to be in, to be honest, because like many of you listening, we've tried out and we've gone into, 1 year being on junior 2, and then my daughter got placed into a youth 2, and I gotta be honest, I don't even know why I would question anything because every season turns out to be pretty good. But when she was placed on the U2, she was like, wait a minute, is that supposed to be? Because I was on a junior 2. Why wouldn't I be on the junior 2? And it ended up being an amazing season. Shout out to the Pistols, Poof Magic. But, when we first got the team placements, we were confused. Like, is this going to, as the season went on, we realized why she had made that team. And, there was a purpose for her to be there. Of course, like every athlete has a purpose on every team. And it didn't take long to see it, but she of course, being, I think she was 11 at the time or 12, she didn't really understand, like, this sounds like, like a fallback. Like, I shouldn't be on youth, I should be on junior. And so I know those conversations are difficult to have. Or, hey, I threw this pass and I thought I had it, but, they put me on a lower level where, I'm just going to have to keep working on it. And so it's super difficult to wait as a parent and as an athlete and just wait and see, like, did we make it on the team that we wanted to make it on? And then, sometimes you do, which is awesome. But then sometimes your child makes it onto that team that they've been wanting to make it on, but they don't have the position they want on the team. And this becomes a challenge, to say the least. And it becomes, as a parent, and this is not it hasn't happened to me, I'm going to be 100% honest. But shout out to all my flyer moms. Like, this is difficult. It's hard when, your child is used to having a certain position, and then they come back and they don't have that anymore. Now you're being taught a different position. To me, as a coach, I always tell athletes to embrace it, because to me, the ultimate triple threat is to be able to have those skills where you could fly, be a base, be a good tumbler, have amazing jumps. Like, all of those things play into an all-around, well-rounded athlete, right? Now, I understand, like, some people are just amazing flyers, right? And they're not going to be a base or whatever. But if you have the opportunity, and I tell this to my athletes, if you have that opportunity to base and be a flyer, like some people, are crossovers into two different teams. And in one team they fly, in one team they base. That is such a blessing to me. You are learning so many skills that season, so many skills. And I know that people don't see it like that often. They see it as, my child isn't enjoying it anymore because, they're not having that position that they want. But the season is long. It's a long cheer season. And you never know, obviously, what could happen. And I'm only saying that because you never know if more athletes are coming in. And they might be able to add, that extra stunt group that then your child can fly on. I've had athletes who have been both bases and flyers in my routine. And one minute they're flying in the elite stunt, and the next minute they're bases in the pyramid. And again, to me, that is like the ultimate athlete, right? Someone who can do all of those things, right? Because when I think of college and collegiate level stuff, in my mind, and I might be wrong, that's what I think of. I think of the athletes who are able to fly, but also able to base, but also able to be good tumblers. It shouldn't be one or the other. It should be all together. And that's what you should bring, as you get older, to those tryouts. And these years of, doing cheer and having these different positions, to me, is beneficial to the athlete. You, as a flyer, when you get the opportunity to base, it only makes you a better flyer moving forward. Like, let's say, for example, Susie doesn't get to be a flyer this season. She gets to be a base. But then the following season, she gets to be a flyer again on her team. But Now she understands where those bases are coming from when they tell her certain things, or, maybe has a new base and she'd be like, hey, last year I did this when I based and it really helped. And to me, it only makes you stronger as an athlete. I know kids don't see it that way. I know the parents don't see it that way sometimes, but I have, an athlete who didn't do it for us on our team, but she got the opportunity in her all-star team to back spot. And she's always been a base. And all of a sudden one day, I think she walked into practice and they were like, we're going to need you as a back spot. And she embraced it and she loves it, because we all know that the back spot is the brain of the entire stunt. They really run the show back there. They constantly communicate with their bases and their flyers and, the other bases, especially in the pyramid. So the back spot is super important in a stunt group. And she has gotten that opportunity and she's ran with it. Amazing. And this season, she was also a back spot. So to me, that's amazing that she got to do that, because now she's got obviously being a base under her belt, and now she could add back spot to it. So I don't know. I see it. I come from a different world, I guess, where I see it as an opportunity for the athlete to grow and get better and learn new positions when they have that opportunity to have different positions on a team. So again, but evaluations for All-Star, they are long. And as parents, we start speculating. I'm not going to lie. I do it myself. Like, okay, wait, how many people and how many teams? And last year, our All-Star gym kind of made it fun because they started coming up with new names. We had so many new athletes. They had to build new teams. And I just ran with that. I loved it. And some of them I guessed right, but some of them I didn't. I am still hopeful that the grenade launchers will come to life maybe this season. Who knows? I am also hopeful for a world's team named Moab, Mother of All Bombs. I am hopeful for that as well. So who knows? My grenade launchers might come this season. I feel like they might be, a youth level 2. I'm not sure. Still thinking about it. We got to see who tries out and who shows up. So we'll see. Maybe one day grenade launchers will be part of Top Gun Southwest Florida. I'm just saying. There we are. So, again, just be mindful of that. It's a long season. I know that most of the athletes who do All-Star Cheer are not the type to be like, well, I'll start and then quit, Most of them stick with it till the end of the season and show that commitment, 110% throughout the season, even when they don't have the position that they want. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Every position on the cheer team is so important. Every position is so important because everyone on that mat plays a huge role on that score sheet on how we do for every competition, and apart from the team bonding and the having fun, having your athlete be the tumbler of the team, where they're not so much doing a bunch of stunting, but they're more doing a bunch of tumbling throughout the mat, throughout the routine. That is, that all has to do with scoring. And to me, that's important, just that as the flyer is or the back spot is. All of that is super duper important. So again, give it your all. Even if you've been at the cheer gym for a long time and these coaches know you and you're like family, give it your all. Go in there like you're brand new. That's what I tell my kids. Go in there like you're brand new. They don't know anything about you, and show them what you're made of so that they could see the maturity that you have and that you're ready to be on the team that they need you to be. And that's the thing, the team that they need you to be on, and the team that you make the position that they need you to have. I know parents have left, after evaluations because my child didn't get the position they wanted. But then where are we going? I don't know. Again, I see it from a whole different perspective. Some of you might have some opinions on this, and if you do, feel free to reach out to us and let us know what you're thinking. Once this episode is posted, you could always leave comments, and I will see them and respond accordingly, of course. So team placements, I mean, that's like Christmas morning. I gotta be honest with you. It is like Christmas morning. And again, unless your athlete didn't get on the team that they wanted. But again, the season is long. Years back, I think like 2 years ago, my daughter wanted to be on a youth level 3 team. Why? I don't know. She didn't have any of the skills. I think it was because, and I think she was 10 at the time, it was because most of her friends were on it. And so she got put on a junior level 2, which is where she needed to be there. That's the skill level she had and what she could handle 100%. And she really wanted to be on this youth level 3 team. And I remember me thinking, why? Why would you want to be on that team? You don't have the skills to be on the team. Or, they don't need you on that team, obviously, because they have other athletes that have the skills, So she was okay with it. We started the season off, and then she ended up being asked to double team on the youth level 3. And by then she did have some level 3 skills, not her tuck, but she had her aerial and, triple back handspring. So she was able to do that during the routine. And she was, able to be on the team at the end of the season. She ended up being on the team she wanted to be on. And so, the season is long. Take some time, and like we've mentioned here before, when Buckley joined us on the podcast, take that 24-hour, maybe even a 72-hour rule after team placements. 72 hours should be the new rule after team placements before you make any decision on where your child was placed and what you want to do about it. Okay? So, again, long season, don't give up. It will be okay. I haven't had a situation before where I'm 100% disappointed in any team my child has been on. And whether it's a youth or a junior or senior team, just have them give it their all, truly. Because, again, it's such a big team sport. They are all so important. And, again, as coaches, we're out here just pouring into them day in and day out to try and make them better athletes and to have the team come together. So for all you parents and coaches, take a deep breath when it comes to tryouts, when it comes to evaluations. Deep breath. It will all be okay. Everything will fall where it needs to, fall. No pun intended to any flyers. But it will all work out 100%. And here is to next year's season. Hopefully we all stay safe and healthy to be able to compete and be able to do all our routines, both in school cheer and all-star cheer. Thank you guys so much for listening. Please make sure you hit the like button and subscribe button, please. I know I've had a lot of listeners on the podcast, but people are not subscribing, and I might check every day, several times. I'm a little obsessed with it. But we are back and ready, and we are having big plans for future podcasts. Thanks, you guys, for listening. Again, take a deep breath when it comes to those tryouts and evaluations, you all. It will all work out, I promise. So I will see you all on the next podcast. Thank you.